Introducing new crunchy Reese's Crunchers. Look at that.
Crunch!
New Crunchers. Did we mention their
Crunchy!
How-ah-ween, everybody.
How-ah-ween.
Hello.
Oh, is that what this is?
Yeah. This is,
Pumpkins and stuff?
I think, like the sixth one.
Really?
6
We've been
years
going
of
on that
Halloween.
long.
Yeah.
Wow.
The Pumpkin Spice Podcast.
Yeah, I was just thinking pumpkin spice.
Pumpkin Spice Pod.
Yeah.
In a very early Junt's cart, I remember the first episode of Junt's cart. We were going through Target, and John saw pumpkin spice Oreos and said, "No, there's pumpkin spice fatigue."
Yes.
And I think he spoke very early on that. I feel like
Only now are they accusing it of being like a basic bitch thing. Although Starbucks now has like pumpkin spice whipped cream for your pumpkin spice latte.
I saw like Dunkin' Donuts like whipping out pumpkin spice back in like August for people.
Well,
and people were excited.
That's just standard holiday creep, Zach. That's Halloween is now a
I
holiday.
mean, pretty soon you're just
when one holiday goes up to the window and watches the other holidays on change.
Yes.
shakes its fist out the window.
The holiday creep.
the holiday creep.
Yeah.
Well, I
Oh, look, there goes Christmas.
I've
Yeah, I
learned
know.
I've learned from 6 episodes to not come in cold.
Okay.
Get your topics in order.
We got topics in order.
So I try to get some topics across the year, really.
From
did we have
topic to
any that
topic.
were?
Have to go to
Did we
Halloween
have one of
website.
these that we came in too cold?
No, I don't think
We just tend to talk movies and food every time.
Yeah.
So Frankie's going to try to get us away from the damn donuts and the potato chips in the white bag and hocus pocus.
I have a Halloween memory I'd like to tell you about.
All right.
From the year is 2007.
Okay.
And I went to the Universal City Park in Los Angeles on Halloween night. Mm-hmm. Now, the year that I was in Los Angeles for Halloween was not super fun. There were not dead leaves. There was not a fall.
Yeah, because there's no. Well, there is a fall, but it's not
Not
the
much
same.
of one. I mean, the at nighttime it would sometimes drop to maybe 50 degrees.
Yeah, the leaves fall off the trees, but
And California falls into the ocean.
but they don't have the same kind of foliage as we do.
no. If you find an oak tree in California, it will actually lose its leaves in the fall, but it's not.
And it was mostly palm trees and
yeah,
stuff. So.
exactly.
But at Universal City Park, which is normally Universal City Studios,
Yeah.
where you go and you ride the tram and you learn about the history, et cetera, et cetera.
Sure.
Halloween night, they go chaotic.
Really?
Like, I wonder if they still do it, actually.
Oh, I'm sure they do. Why wouldn't they?
Well, it felt a little bit hazardous because it's more or less an open space where, like, there are massive escalators and there's, it's like a Six Flags.
Yeah.
It's stuffed to the brim with people.
Yep.
It's not awesomely lit. There are haunted attractions in the middle of the park at all times. Like, there was in the center of the park were like military personnel running around with like fake guns telling you to like get inside, watch out for zombies. There was like helicopters overhead. There was like spotlights going all over the place. There were zombies that they were trying to contain. And it just feels like the kind of thing that somebody would bomb.
Oh.
Or somebody would, shoot.
Yes.
Mass shoot at it.
Are we just not allowed to have fun anymore at all?
Well,
Not that particular brand of fun?
Did all the guns have orange tips?
I'm sure they did.
Then we know they're fake.
But it was pretty cool because you could. So Universal, many people own a lot of the major Halloween iconography.
Sure.
The Universal monsters.
When you think of Halloween iconography, we agree that jack-o'-lantern's at the top.
Yeah.
But then you got your skeletons.
Sure.
But then, perhaps even more importantly, you got your Frankenstein, Dracula, Wolfman, Mummy.
And zombies are moving way up.
Yeah.
And then the Bride of Dracula comes swooping in way
Still
under
in
the rest of the
zombie
patriarchy.
fatigue mode.
You got zombie fatigue, not pumpkin spice fatigue?
Pumpkin spice zombie fatigue.
Pumpkin zombie.
Zombies, yeah.
So they own like Frankenstein, and they own a number of other properties too. And I think they actually own Freddy and Jason. Maybe.
Really?
I know for sure they had Freddy and Jason attractions.
Yeah.
Do they have like Bates Motel stuff?
Yeah. So you could go into like the Nightmare on Elm Street haunted house. That is all Freddy themed haunted house.
Yeah.
Where so and once you buy a ticket, you just get in, you just do whatever. You wait in line like anything else, but it was mostly just a lot of haunted houses and very limited bathroom options.
Yeah.
But you can take the tram ride. The tram is a staple.
The tram to the bathroom.
Yes. You'll have to take
The bathroom trend.
The tram is a major staple of Universal City Parks. This is like, it breaks down halfway through. And
Oh, one of those gags?
and then it like pops
Like in
open.
Jurassic Park, and then a dinosaur comes out and eats you.
In this case, it's zombies overrun the tram. So like you're stopped and you get. It's pretty cool.
That's cute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That kind of brings a memory. Have you ever talked about the show about the Halloween ride I went on as a kid?
No.
Where they did that? So before, like, I don't want to interrupt your story too
please.
much, but so when the idea, I was like 11 or 10, and the idea of a ride being like, you know, this people who were part of the show on your hayride,
Right.
And what it was is at the Dartmouth
Was it a
Children's
haunted
Museum.
hayride?
It was a haunted hayride.
I have
didn't
been on
know.
the Dartmouth Children's Museum haunted hayride.
It's not there anymore, the Dartmouth Children's Museum, but
Haunted hayride.
haunted hayride. TM.
Back when
I
it was
love
in
that children's
the
museum.
That
silo
was an
barn.
awesome children's museum. But I was not privy to the fact that this was going to be a haunted hayride. I mean, I think I kind of like, oh, there's going to be some scary stuff, you know. And I 11-year-old me thought, oh, it's so lame.
Yeah.
But you know, they had some plants who were going to obviously be dragged off by monsters, and this was a new concept to me, a whole new idea. Like I when it happened, I was like, Jesus Christ, what the hell's going on? You know, and then I figured pretty quick. I remember it must be part of the show.
So I've never been on a haunted hayride. I've been invited to go, and I always find myself not. So my guess is that there's some kind of a cornfield.
It was just a field,
Okay,
right?
so there's a field.
It was very fieldy.
And you get on what must be a pickup truck or something.
It was a. I think
Like
it was
it's a flatbed pulled by a
flatbed.
tractor.
Yeah, that's exactly
with
what
bales
it was.
of hay that you
There's
sit
bales
on.
of hay. You sit on the hay,
Yeah.
and as you drive through the sporing field,
I think the initial gag was like, oh, there's some kind of problem with the tractor. We have to stop for a second.
Right.
So they stopped, and then you hear like monster sounds a little bit out in the field, and then they get closer and closer, and you know they start tearing people
Yeah.
off.
Some hayrides kind of have like spooky stations, like as if you were going through a haunted house.
Yes.
Like you'll come upon like a bunch of witches at like a cauldron,
Exactly.
like
And it
eating
had some of
children.
that, too.
And then other times, there's monsters coming up to the hayride, pulling people off.
pulling them off.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, again, plants. but
pulling
yeah.
the plants off. What do they call those? The stooges is the proper term,
Yeah,
actually.
yeah.
There's usually 3.
Yeah. But I remember the only reason I wasn't freaked out is because none of the adults were. That's the only reason. If the adults had been very
If
upset,
the adults were,
I would have been.
You were too young. This wouldn't have been the case. But modern day, if the adults are pulling out their cell phones and dialing 911, you start freaking out.
Yes, exactly.
I remember now that you say it. There was the old Durfee High School,
Yep.
which was this massive building.
The one that became like part of the courthouse system.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
They decided to, in its intermediate state, make a haunted house out of it.
That was a big thing. Like take a school that was like in a momentary state of disuse and put it into.
And I remember, I don't know if it was because I was young and impressionable or if it really just was way higher standard than the Factory of Terror. But this thing was horrifying.
How old were you at this time?
Probably 8.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, either that or it might have been a church, an abandoned church. Yeah. It was a massive
They
facility.
definitely did it with the old Durfee High School. I went.
Yeah.
So I remember that.
And I remember, like, you would sit in this giant room waiting for it to happen. And they would take, you know, of course, you'd hear the big knocks, and then they'd bring people in.
Yeah.
And as an 8-year-old, you're like, what's going to happen? What's behind those doors?
Yes. You don't want to proceed. You just want to stay where they're not.
And I remember there being really terrifying things. Now, a few years back, Nina and I went to the Factory of Terror.
Yeah.
In Fall River. It was kind of fun. It's a long line. It's way too expensive. I think it's $30 a person.
Holy
Now?
cow.
Yeah.
It used to be like $15.
Which was
Yeah.
still expensive to try to take like kids. Like I remember my parents, it was like a big expense to go out and do it.
It's just a cash
Is
cow.
Spooky World still a thing too?
I think so.
Oh yeah, remember wrestling used to be there? They're like
just-
Kane will be available at Spooky World.
Yeah, he's signing autographs.
Yeah, but I remember we went, and at the very end, one of the monsters was our friend Chad Lawton in a costume.
Oh my God.
And he was like, "Oh hey."
No.
Oh my God.
No. He
This is the scariest thing.
he totally didn't want to acknowledge us was a thing because he didn't want to break character. They get like in trouble if they
Oh yeah,
break
so he was
character.
kind of like half smiling.
So he was kind of like half like, you know, it's me, right?
Yeah, he couldn't stand that he had to stay in character. It was kind of funny. But the cool thing about the Universal Tram ride was that you had a basis of comparison.
Yeah.
The ride normally does this.
Yes.
And now it's like, and it was cool because the first maybe 15 minutes of it is the normal tram ride.
Yeah.
And then it's like, they're like, oh, sorry guys, like we seem to not be going. And like some of it feels like natural problems.
There's always an amusement in having like a standard thing interrupted for the sake of fun.
Designed interruption.
Yes.
And then like you start to notice outside things that aren't quite right.
Yeah.
Like there's like some like a little burning or something, and you're like, what's that? And it was kind of cool. And at the very end, I remember they did some kind of special effect where the whole thing twists and turns. Like the entire you end up in like a different dimension or something. Yep. It was kind of neat. And they have their Jurassic, they also own Jurassic Park.
Yep.
And the Jurassic Park ride was open all night, but I don't think they did anything special there. I think it was just nighttime and you saw dinosaurs.
Oh wow,
zombie dinosaurs.
Yeah, that's sweet. So that's
pumpkin spice.
Yeah, those are kind of fun things. That's kind of a different angle on the Halloween staple, right?
Yes. You go do a thing.
You go do a scary event of some kind.
When I was in second grade, Lee's supermarket, a nearby supermarket,
still there,
had a competition.
It's not an Asian market though; it's just a regular supermarket.
Yeah, it's LEES.
They had
very American.
They had a competition for, like Halloween safety tips. Whatever elementary school kid can draw the coolest design.
I totally drew like a razor blade and some candy. I was like, check your candy.
Well, we all
Which
did.
never happened, by the way.
Pretty much everybody said, check your candy.
That was always...
And
have your mom check your candy because you're too stupid. You'll eat the razor blade.
Don't have dad check it either. Dad'll probably eat the candy.
So
this one's fine.
I had... it was the red Power Ranger going hi-ya, check your candy.
Hi-ya, check your candy.
And that one, I believe, either first or second place.
Rigged.
It won.
Yeah, I have a trophy downstairs still to this day. It's like a winged angel on like this like barbershop pole.
So did you draw the Red Ranger?
Yeah, it wasn't that great. I have it somewhere around here.
Speaking of candy, is everyone hearing about the new teal pumpkin craze?
Teal pumpkin.
The teal pumpkin.
I've heard of them.
Is it a naturally occurring phenomenon?
You put out a teal pumpkin, either a real or fake pumpkin painted teal, and it signifies that at your house you will also offer non-food treats for children with food allergies, so they can go trick-or-treating with their friends and family.
Sure.
Like
what's going on with all these allergies? We didn't have this many allergies.
Pumpkin spice allergies.
I think it's got to have something to do with some change that no one's tracking closely enough, right? What's the number one thing that's changed more than anything else in the last 30 years?
Technology.
Well,
radio waves from all the wireless technology.
No, I mean, it's food.
Prepared and frozen foods, preservatives.
Preservatives in your food.
But that I can't imagine that that's the sole contributor. I think that another contributor is that it's being diagnosed a lot more now than it was.
Yeah, but come on, at a certain point.
The other thing is huge advancements in pesticides. And a lot of the pesticides have like a peanut or legume base from what I was reading. There are some people that feel like it's our exposure to pesticides on our fruits and vegetables are making the peanut allergy worse.
I'm talking about like the number of people that go into anaphylaxis if they have the wrong thing. That's not something you die. That's not something you die.
We never had a peanut-free table like growing up in schools. Now like every school has like a peanut-free lunch table.
You don't think there's that many of them?
What
do you base that on?
No, I mean, again, I think that there are certainly people who have that condition.
Our own child has a dairy protein allergy and possibly a soy protein allergy.
How severe though?
She had blood in her poop.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, she didn't have like anaphylaxis, but it caused like inflammatory bowel things. I mean, she'll probably grow out of that.
Yeah.
But they say that only 2% of babies have that. But like every parent I talk to anecdotally is like, oh yeah, my kid had that. We had to take them off the dairy formula. I keep hearing it every single person I talk to.
I mean, maybe it was true for all of us and it was just kind of passed under the radar. I don't know.
I have to believe that it's like food production has changed a tremendous amount.
Oh, I think so.
And I don't know. You look at like a movie from the 70s and everybody's rail thin. Like food,
and it's just like the normal, they're just hanging out, being
food
skinny.
Has changed. Like it's,
Well, yeah.
Or are they diagnosing fat
it's
more?
All convenience food now.
Yeah.
But there must be something more. I don't know. I mean, because I know there's people who I know who have eaten very carefully when they're pregnant, right? Nina, you ate very carefully when you were pregnant, and their children still end up with allergies.
Yeah, but like she finds that like there's more soy, for instance, in the things that she was eating than she even expected.
Like I went to go get like those flax wraps.
Yeah.
like there's soy in it.
Yeah,
It's like-
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, but like,
sense.
well, yes and no. I mean, I think of bread. I think of like yeast, water, flour. I mean, I guess I think of like a real like sourdough. Like, there's no reason to have like milk in like white bread or like soy in like a wheat bread. And I keep pulling things off the shelf and being like, soy,
so much
dairy,
bread.
soy.
Yeah, so much bread off the shelf too. Just they throw in like high fructose
Sugar.
corn
Yeah.
syrup and
Yeah.
Yeah, to make it taste more like what the consumer wants.
Yeah.
yeah. But like the bread I buy is like 100% whole wheat, no
Yeah.
sugar or anything in it, but it's
Yeah.
more expensive.
Yeah. And it's like
It's
hard
like,
to
oh, I
find.
got to pay more to have less crap in my bread.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, you pay for what
Like,
you don't get.
We're adding all this crap, so it makes the bread cheaper.
Yeah, well, it costs money to go non-standard, right? On the topic of junk food,
Yeah.
there is a new candy on the street. I'm not eating candy right now.
Sure.
But I had it prior to this new diet wave of mine. And
I you couldn't stop talking about it.
Street candy.
what? Reese's Crunchers?
Yes, you were raving about it when you had
Crunchers?
them.
Reese's Crunchers.
See, I don't
Never heard
shop
of it.
for candy. I mean,
Well, I don't think I like went to the store and shopped for candy. I think I saw it. and had
You
it
got
in
any
the-
of those Reese's Crunchers?
Here, let me.
I
search.
don't even, in fact, go down the candy aisle at stores.
It was an impulse buy. It was in the aisle. Why does everything have to have happened?
I mean, I'm just fascinated. There's a new product I know nothing about.
Well, let me tell you what's in this thing
All
because you're gonna want to try this if you're not dieting. Yeah, a delicious combination of mini peanut butter chips, puffs, and peanut covered in chocolate. So it's puffs, chips, and chocolate, and peanut butter.
Okay.
What do you mean? Why?
So it's like the
Why?
It's like the Reese's Puff
The
cereal.
puffs turn me off.
Fucking tired of you. Everything is this game sucks, and that sounds shitty. No, I don't shop for candy.
Look, I'm a miserable person. What do you want?
But Frankie, in a world where goobers are perfectly fine candy, that does seem a bit overthought, does it not?
I like a simple candy.
What do you mean over?
I mean,
what do
I
you mean
wanna
perfectly
try it.
fine.
Like it's
You don't have any in
it's
stock, do you?
chocolate and it's
No.
nuts.
I probably should have gotten some for the pod.
Yeah.
Do
But
they
goddamn,
take, like,
they're good.
Do they take like the little individual puffs from like the Reese's Puff cereal?
We're talking about
and then-
basically that.
and then they cover it
Look,
again in
the thing I
chocolate?
love, the thing I love about candy
Sure.
is a good chocolate taste. I'm kind of a chocolate based guy. I'm not really.
A taste you can feel in your cheeks.
Yeah,
Like Welch's grape juice.
I'm not really into
Promotional placement by.
Sprees or Starbursts.
no.
Or
Oh,
the fruit
Starburst,
candy.
delicious.
I mean, they're okay. They're okay.
Yeah. You get the little 2-pack, you open it up, there's like a pink and a red, and
I've
you're
been
like,
really
I won
out
the
of
lottery.
super sweet candy. I'm not into it anymore.
But I don't like chewy. I like crunchy.
really,
I like
chewy.
crunchy, and I like just the right amount of chocolate.
Okay.
And this thing, it uses essentially the Reese's Puff cereal.
Yeah.
And have you ever had a Reese's peanut butter chip, like for like a cookie or for?
Yeah, I don't care for it.
I'm trying here.
I know you're trying your best to sell this product to me, and
it's really good.
if you put one on my tummy right here, I would eat it.
You'd crack it open and eat it like a seal.
Oh. No, but it sounds I'd try it.
It is really good. You know, it looks like a little kind of like radical cancer cell as like a chocolate.
Oh. Maybe if I can get some on clearance after Halloween.
Maybe we'll do better with the next topic.
That was a fine topic. I got no beef with your tops. What's your favorite vegan products brand? Plug it right now.
Bananas, just in general. Just everybody go out and eat some bananas.
Bananas. Now, wait a minute. I have a question about your banana stock, Nina.
Sure.
If we can talk for real.
we can talk. I only buy the organic because they're still green, and I don't want nearly going bad bananas. if that was
Completely
the
understand.
question.
However, I noticed the tops of your banana bunches are wrapped with plastic wrap.
Yeah.
Explain?
I believe that's how they come. I didn't do it myself.
Really?
Yeah. I believe that is actually why they don't ripen. I believe it's the top that emits like the gas that helps
Is
them to
that
ripen more quickly.
so?
Also, if you don't want them to become overripe, you're supposed to separate them all.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's it. So I think somehow that area where they're cut, if that's not exposed to air, they don't ripen as quickly.
Fascinating. Thank you, Nina.
So I did buy some organic bananas because they were still green, and I didn't want them brown by the end of the week.
You gonna hand those out for trick-or-treaters?
No.
Organic
Well,
bananas?
Are you even going to get any candy? You going to prep any for a trick-or-treater?
so
Sure.
Are you going to be one of those houses that gives out like apples?
No. We have given out stuff that's better than, nutritionally speaking than regular candy. But what have we handed out?
So when I first went vegan, we handed out like the 6 packs of Oreos, like the individual like Oreo cookie packs. We've handed out vegan candy like Swedish Fish, Sour Patch Kids, Twizzlers.
Good quality candy.
She's not trying to be healthy for the kids. She's just trying to not proliferate animal products.
I understand that.
Twizzlers are great.
Yep.
Okay, so I want to talk about haunted hallways.
Haunted hallways.
I feel like we used to have these at school.
Yes, they took place at nighttime. You could come back to school after school.
There was always something kind of, I don't know why, but it always felt a little magical to me to be in school when it was dark out. I don't know why that was the case. Maybe it was just because it was a rare
Why
occurrence.
did I wait to bring this topic up when Nina went to go get the baby? Because this is Nina's favorite topic in the world. First of all, I bet she remembers haunted hallways.
Yep.
And second of all, she is crazy about being in like an after hours place.
Do you want to defer?
Yeah, I think we come back. I think we come back to
You
this
want to
one.
push?
Did you guys see the Slender Man documentary? Let's talk about this.
No. I mean, that's the...
No.
No.
Why? It's a perfectly good documentary.
I watched most of it. I fell asleep.
No, you don't know what it is.
I wasn't feeling well when I was watching it, so I fell asleep.
I mean, I know what Slenderman is like in a cultural context, right?
Okay, so you don't know what the documentary is.
No.
There were 2 girls a few years back, 2014, I want to say.
Sure.
They were like 11 years old, and they were having a sleepover. They had a third friend. One of them was diagnosed schizophrenic. One of them was diagnosed some kind of personality disorder.
Yep.
Well, they were into the Slender Man meme.
Sure.
You know, they went to this place called like Copy Pasta. No, like something pasta.
Slenderman website.
Something pasta. I can't remember what. Anyway, they went to some website where they would all get each other freaked out about Slender Man.
Sure.
Slender Man, for anybody unfamiliar, just sort of a Jack Skellington looking type thing,
Yes.
like a tall, suited,
Very tall, yeah.
skinny guy who has children sort of obey him and kill people on his behalf.
Yep.
Well, these girls plotted and decided to kill their friend on a sleepover, 11 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And they stabbed the girl something like 11 times and, like out, in the backyard or something. And she survived, thank God. But holy shit. Like, and only one of them did it and the other one told her to do it.
They stabbed her and just left her there.
Yeah, they ran
They
away.
just, left her
Their
out in
plan
the
was
woods.
that they were going to go into the woods and find Slender Man in his mansion in the woods. And of course, the police found them. And so this documentary is awesome because it's an HBO documentary, came out last year, and they have all of the police interrogation footage of it's interesting to me the night of the time that an 11-year-old stabbed another 11-year-old 11 times to hear what this girl has to say about what she just did.
Yeah.
And it does kind of a deep dive on them and psychiatric health and what would have caused this. And they have a lot of footage from the court, from the jury. And it was a really solid documentary. And if you're looking for something kind of spooky this Halloween, I highly recommend it. And it goes a little bit into like legend and stories and memes and how that impacts people's actions. But I'd say really the interesting thing is the kind of psychiatric profile of these 2 little girls who did something they didn't seem to understand. There's a lot of talking to the parents, and the parents, of course, it's ruined their lives. And
Of course.
the parents of the girl got stabbed once all of their heads, but of course the other parents had no clue any of this was going to happen. And they talk about like when they were infants, how they acted. Like one of them was really antisocial, and it's interesting stuff. Spooky. I recommend you put it on in your living room while you make cookies.
Okay.
Maybe pop a few Reese's Crunches.
Sure.
No. All right. I want to talk about
What do you want to talk about?
grossness.
Grossness.
You know how
In a Halloween-y context or just in life?
well, that's what I want to explore.
Okay.
What's the threshold? Because we've been watching more Halloween Baking Championship this year. Which,
Sure.
by the way, is available on my Plex if you're my friend.
Oh.
And
All those people at home are not.
but John could watch it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like encouragement to make like bloodied eyes and horrific. Like they want to, like it's a bat, like that's been
It's a gore thread.
cooked. It's meant to be like a little gross and a little gruesome.
They want you to do like have green slime ooze out of the cake.
slime and all this kind of stuff. And I just want to know, like, when is it not okay to be like, come?
Well, obviously that's not okay.
But why? Why blood? Why not shit?
I have explained this to you. It's because it's not part of like a normal bodily function. Like the thing that is supposed to creep you out is like the abnormality of seeing it and like the threat to your life of seeing it.
I see.
Yes, it's not supposed to. It's supposed
That's
to
the threshold?
frighten. It's not supposed
It's
to
not
gross.
pure gross out.
I think those things are frightening.
Here comes the bile.
Like, so what? Okay, fine. What about snots?
Ew, it's just gross. It's not frightening. There's no frightening.
No, but I guess my question is that not cultural? Like, is it us culturally that have decided that like, oh, blood is kind of funny and frightening, and snots are just gross. Get them out of here.
I think it's actually probably film and television culture that set that.
Yeah.
Right. Because we're all kind of conditioned, obviously, that blood is a movie thing.
It's serious.
That's a huge, it's a movie item. But things like other bodily fluids are not used in film and television at all.
Right.
Right.
What about like pus? Because pus is pretty much the same thing as blood. Nina just looked at me with a kind of a light smile that said, "You just checkmated me."
But it's the same thing, though. You never got that depiction because they were going...
But you will see pus in like body horror, like in movies where it's like, oh, like I can't, I need to get help because I've had such a terrible injury and my leg is gangrenous.
That's a past 15-year thing.
Yeah, that's
I mean, I think most of the Halloween-y...
70s horror.
Yeah.
They had some nasty stuff.
Yeah, but the horror mainstream for me, the period is kind of like mid-'80s to mid-2000s. That's the way
fractures.
when horror went from kind of a niche in the 70s to something much more mainstream by 2004, 2005, around that area. And I think that the ideas that you got there where a broken bone is okay, a blood is okay.
A broken bone. That's disgusting.
So are you advocating for more snots?
No, not at all. I'm just saying. I think.
Are you saying
Money
you
shots everywhere.
you'd like some saliva and like
Look,
tears?
I'm on the same page as you all. I feel the ways that you feel. I'm just intellectualizing. I'm wondering why. I mean, you offer a reasonable explanation. I don't think it goes. It doesn't satisfy the thing, which is that like, well, that's because we were. You're essentially saying we were culturalized that way. We were socialized that way, and that's what I'm like. Is it just our culture? And you're saying yes because movies. And although like not a lot of people have seen. Like, definitely a kid hasn't seen a rated R gore horror movies.
My child has seen all of them.
And that's true. And we see blood incorporated into children's designs, don't we?
Well, I think blood is so accessible to everyone, right? I mean, everybody bleeds, right? Even if you get a little minor sting, it's not. It's
everybody snots.
Yeah.
I mean, not by injury.
But again,
although I guess it could.
I'm telling you, I think it's more the fear of disfigurement and loss of life. Like that seeing blood means something wrong is happening to your body.
But what's your explanation for pus?
We know that for
I said some body horror. I think pus might show up. Like look at is it Cabin Fever?
Yeah.
Like where, I mean, that like her kind of skin deteriorating, like infectious flesh eating thing.
I just think it's funny that like it's more or less a family show. Halloween Baking Championship.
Yeah.
It's more or less a family show. And they're incorporating people's broken bones and blood. It's kind of like we've talked about this in the past. You go into like Spirit Halloween and there's like zombified kids and people broken in half or being, their head being
or like
held
dead
by
babies on
wire.
a chain.
Wrapped in barbed wire.
And I think that at some point, being like, oh, that's fun and that's disgusting. How could you dare bring that
Like
to the
things
table?
that might get people fired from CNN.
Yes.
It
yes.
continuously.
But it's okay at Spirit of Halloween.
Right.
It continuously
that
shifts. It's a continuously shifting paradigm.
Yeah.
We allow little things to come in, and I think some of the stuff we saw at Spirit Halloween is really kind of more up and coming.
It very is much shifting because it's going into the downward. Like it's let's get more of this shit in here.
I just find it frustrating when it seems the majority of people don't recognize this stuff as being arbitrary in the first place, and will feel really passionate that like blood is fun and snots are not.
Yeah. Well, this is. I mean, you can break this down to the old sex versus violence thing, right?
Yes.
I mean, it's the same basic idea.
And that is a pretty good dark line. That it seems that we're less into sex and more into violence.
Yeah.
But I would like. Yeah, like staying on snots for a minute.
Sure.
Let's get back to snots, please.
It seems that they they don't fit into either category. That's just gross. Like that's like shit. It's like going to the bathroom.
Yeah.
That's just like you taking care of your private stuff.
Exactly. I mean, I'm not. And blood is something that you can take care of, but it's not socially like, you know, if you're out somewhere and you get cut, it's not like a terrible social.
Nina's saying it's like
It kind of is.
A little is to some extent.
You don't want to bleed on someone.
No, but if
Or
you
just get blood everywhere.
if you're bleeding, then you know, if you got a little cut or something,
bleeding?
people understand. Just like if you're blowing your nose in public,
from?
people understand.
His nose.
That's
So he has a nosebleed? Yeah.
Is that the Beavis and Butthead episode where he repeatedly made him like he was trying to stop the nosebleed or something?
Yeah.
By like closing his nose in a
I
phone
think
book.
didn't he like
and-
shove tampons up his nose?
Yes.
Nostrils, too?
Yes.
Like-
I feel really fresh. Well, I hope that you found that enjoyable.
I love your topics. They're actually really good.
Bobbing for apples.
Oh God.
A Halloween staple, as far as I can tell, but not one I don't think I've ever stuck my face in a pot of water and grabbed an apple with my mouth.
This is one of those kind of.
I've done it.
Do you want to talk about it?
No.
No.
That's one of those. I can't. No other immediate examples comes to mind. Maybe like kissing under the mistletoe. Of holiday traditions that are
No one really does.
no one really does, but you still kind of keep them in the memory and the lexicon.
Unlike the Easter egg hunt,
Yeah.
which for some reason people do. and
People do.
It's just as asinine as any of those
Well,
things.
for one thing, okay, so I mean, kissing under a mistletoe, kissing has to occur, and that's like maybe at one time in American culture, but I don't think you just go kissing people, especially like with people's sensitivities. Bobbing for apples is like there's I bet there was a period, probably during the 90s, if I had to guess, if I know my America, when they probably tried to keep the tradition alive and sanitize it.
How though? I mean, it's
They probably brought out the thing of apples, put them in the water for decoration, and then was like, "Who wants an apple?" And then mom would go over and dry one off and give you one.
yes.
Bet you that.
Oh, I'm sure that's been done. I mean, it's fundamentally kind of a gross idea.
Well, it also only happened, back when apples were like candy. Now we have candy. Apples are no longer a treat.
I was gonna say, or they said they brought out the pot of apples.
Bobbing for Reese's Crispers.
Oh man,
There's your episode name.
bobbing for Reese's Crunchers.
Crunchers. That's
Crunchers.
Sorry.
Oh, I thought for sure it was going to be pumpkin spice dinosaurs.
They would I bet you they brought out the pot of apples and they were like, we're all gonna take an apple and caramelize it, let's say. So there's still the iconography of the pot of apples.
Sure.
But no one's sticking their face in it.
No, it's gross.
I don't even know how I could I don't think I have a big enough mouth. I could get
you don't even eat. You never eat whole fruit, right?
I mean, I've done it, Nina.
I've never seen you just take a bite of an apple.
You
or
don't
a
eat
peach.
apples, like just
Well, I like an apple. I don't like ears of corn. I don't like anything that you have to really kind of. My teeth are kind of sensitive, man. I mean, go easy on me.
all right.
I like apples.
Look, we all like apples. We're all
Well,
having
therefore, you're the only one who's bobbed for them. So
Yeah, it was a competition thing. They were we were doing like team sports thing for this youth thing that I did, and so we had 4 basins with the apples.
Where I come from, that's called homosexuality.
It was
Kidding.
mixed gender, man.
Yeah.
But it was each team had the basin, and it was whoever could pull the most apples out
Yep.
in the allotted time would get the win. For
But you
the
had to do
And
it.
you had to do it with
you
your
with your
teeth?
face.
Yeah,
Okay.
And were you able to do it, Zach?
yeah. It was not pleasant.
Didn't you feel like you had your mouth in a bunch of other people's mouth water?
It was only one person. You had to choose one from.
Did you have a crush on them?
No.
You had your own
And it was
basin.
only one. You chose.
only one person had to do it.
It was the sanitized version of
You
it.
had
This
your
was in the
own
90s, I
basin.
assume.
Or very early 90s.
Yeah, see?
90.
for Frankie.
I nailed it.
Yeah, it would have been like 90 or 91.
Yeah.
Nina, while you're back, haunted hallways. You remember haunted hallways?
Totally. I remember Westport High School doing it.
Did you ever go to one?
The Westport High School one. I also know that the website that the 2 girls went to was called Creepypasta.
Thank you. Thank you.
Creepypasta.
Not copy pasta.
And they didn't stab her in a backyard. They dragged her out into the woods off the side of the road.
It's good to get corrections during the show itself.
Yeah.
Rather than afterwards.
I agree.
It kind of steals the thunder from the comment section, which is really what you're after.
Yeah.
Yeah, haunted. I went to it once at Westport High School when I was in middle school, and I was like, "Oh man, when I get to high school, I'm going to
not
participate,
sure.
and I'm going to put on the haunted hallway." And then it
So
disappeared. It
what
never happened
was the
ever
haunted
again.
hallway? I mean, I know what it is conceptually, but
Each room was kind of its own mini haunted house theme. Like
Yeah.
one room was
like an anime.
like in anime. So anime, a staple of animes are commonly set in schools, right? And Japanese schools always have these cultural fairs every year. And the cultural fair has a couple of standby
They
events.
have
and
a play.
A play.
They have a maid cafe,
Yeah.
and they have a haunted house.
Yes, those are always staples, and so in school based anime, you'll always hit those three, and maybe they'll be in the play, maybe they'll be in the haunted house, maybe they'll be in the maid cafe, maybe all three.
And the tentacle monsters come in where?
In the haunted house usually.
Okay.
Sometime in the maid cafe.
In the pornography. Well, did you? So you never actually got to go and see one?
No, I did. I went to the one, and I was less interested in kind of going through it and being scared myself, and more interested in, I can't wait till I get to be part of it. And then it disappeared. By
I
the time
remember
was
like
old
the
enough.
first year we dated when we were like 14. Yeah, I remember that being your intention.
Yeah.
That you wanted to either. I was like, so what do you do? Like, do we get to be part of the haunted house? And she was like, yeah.
Yeah, and then they didn't do it, but it was some kind of fundraiser. I think it went to like the Children's Hospital.
So what I've noticed about you is that when there were field trips during the day, we're all gonna go to such and such a place. You wanted to get a slip to get out of that.
Yeah.
But if there was a
I'm sorry, I didn't want to go to the river and like get covered in mud,
Finding
and catalog bugs.
But if there was a thing happening in the evening at the school when you could be home, you were down with that.
A haunted hallway versus like
sounds-
bug collecting trip.
That sounds great, but there was other stuff that like I can't think of something.
Are you talking about like Key Club?
Yeah, Key Club. Precisely. We were in Key Club. And we all talked about how
What the hell is Key Club?
We were trying to be like good citizens, I think, right?
all I remember is because I only went to like 1.5.
Is it like a gateway drug to the lions or something?
Mr. Melly ran it.
All I remember is that we like all had to go around because this was like 2001. We all had to go around and talk about how like 9/11 affected us emotionally, and like everybody because they were all 14 and 15 years old. They were all like it didn't really. Like it was like kind of it made them edgy, to be like I don't even care.
I don't even care. you know all those people die. I don't even care.
Yeah, I'm more interested in snots, kid. Light as a feather, stiff as a board. I want to talk about. You ever play that game? Nope.
No.
I didn't even know it existed until I saw the Kraft.
I mean, I've heard the phrase, but I don't know anything more of it than that.
Well, it's
like levitating the person with like just the
Two fingers.
It's like doing a thing. It's like a Ouija board without the Ouija board.
It's kind of like a Bloody Mary, like hang around
Does
and
it
spook
work?
out your friends. No.
obviously
Well,
it
no,
doesn't.
it's you're meant to pretend that it's working.
But so isn't this like not a thing at all then?
So it's
This is without explaining anything to me. This is how I imagine it would go down. A bunch of kids would get together, and someone lies flat, and then they
Right.
start chanting.
Yeah, you
right?
do it out in the back.
light as a feather, stiff as a board.
You
light
do it
as
at
a feather, stiff
nighttime
as a-
or in a place you maybe shouldn't be, so you're a little bit scared to start.
Sure,
You know?
and then it doesn't
Yeah, this was
work.
against my upbringing, so I steered clear to this crap.
To sacrilege.
Yeah, like you don't tempt demon shit.
But so they start chanting it, and nothing happens, and then they go home. I mean,
It's a little bit of kind of like the Ouija board. It's
Yeah.
a bit of a mind trick. Like so with Ouija board, in theory, unless someone's purely just effing with you and moving the planchette around, the whole theory is that someone's kind of subconsciously doing it.
Yeah.
So with light as a feather, stiff as a board, the idea is that you close your eyes.
Yeah.
And as you're doing it, again, your mind kind of plays tricks on you, and it does feel like you're levitating the person. Like it feels like the person's becoming weightless and you're lifting it up, and you're not actually doing that. Of course, if you do it with your eyes open, there's no mind trick to be played. You can't convince yourself that it's happening.
And it's for girls, not for boys.
oh, it's for girls.
I mean, really, it is.
It's for young women.
Like whereas
Backyard
glorious.
wrestling is for boys.
Bloody Mary could have been anybody. You can do that in the middle of the day in the
Or
bathroom.
Candyman.
Or Candyman. Or Lawnmower Man. Or Leprechaun.
Yep.
But you
I don't know anything about those last two.
but you well, us Irish kids.
Irish kids.
Mowing lawns and
But I do remember I once went to a birthday party in middle school that was chiefly girls. Like Aaron was maybe the only other guy there, and let's face it,
Bagels.
like I was the only guy there.
did they paint your nails?
At the time, it seemed like an awesome opportunity to flirt with a couple of girls that I had crushes on. But in reality, you don't want to go into a hen house.
And in reality, if you and a gay guy are invited, you got to wonder what they think of you.
That is true. And I wore my shorts a little high, you know.
We'll invite that sweet gay couple to the party.
You know, Frankie and the other one. The gay.
Frankie and the other one. I actually, well, maybe it might be a little too scary to tell. I was listening to a story on NPR recently on This American Life, and they had this story, and it was at this a summer camp, right? I'm gonna tell a little bit of a scary story.
Yes, tell me.
And this little
scared.
kid, this 9-year-old kid, you know, boys camp. It was a boys and girls camp, but he was, you know, the boys were separated from the girls. And this young kid kind of had, you know, been taught about the devil and God and how, you know, really strong upbringing, religious, which is like you don't invoke the name of the devil on someone, like Zach was saying. You don't tempt a demon, right? And so this kid had another kid that he got in a fight with over doing the Bloody Mary thing. They do the Bloody Mary thing in the bathroom, doesn't work. The kid says, it's stupid. You're all stupid for trying it, you know, etc. And so this kid curses this other kid privately, not even publicly.
He puts a curse on him?
Puts a curse on him. And he knows it's like against what his parents and what his religion has taught him. And then the next day, the kid gets struck by lightning and dies. And the young, this is a true story, and the 9-year-old is kind of ruined by this. His life gets he gets very confused. He keeps telling people like, I did this. It's like, no, you didn't. You didn't do this. You didn't do this. And he keeps insisting because it's the combination of being ingrained in religion and also you know what he's done and what he sees, and it ends up causing him a major psychosis.
Sure.
You know, this is a major problem he has to deal with as an adult, and he doesn't really get it worked out until he's into his 20s. And it was a very interesting piece and an interesting, you know, thing to think about. Where, you know, are you really tempting fate, or what are you doing?
I guess that's what's helpful about just denying the existence of anything supernatural.
Yeah.
It's just like, well, I'd like for some kind of evidence-based explanation for this. And then you don't have to go crazy when your friend gets hit by lightning.
Yeah, it was a really kind of scary story, you know?
Well, speaking of scary,
yeah,
there's something that kind of gets passed around on Facebooks in this area every year.
Sure.
And that is 11 haunted places in Rhode Island.
Well, you know, let's talk about our local one first, right? We have I don't think we've talked about this on the podcast before, our local haunted Indian reservation up there. What's that place?
The Freetown State Forest?
The Freetown State Forest.
Turtle Rock Farm.
where you have the cultists out in the woods. And
it was a raised ranch. This wasn't like an old-fashioned Victorian house. It was built in like the 80s.
But it was boarded up, so therefore haunted.
And wasn't there a sign on it, like in the end, like for the last 10 years of its existence?
Or something, I thought.
Yeah, because people always used to break into it. It was very... I mean, I don't know why.
To spend the night in the haunted house.
I don't know why the house would have been abandoned in the first place.
The tower on Gooseberry still.
Yes. Like bring down arc welders and make holes in the stuff.
We got to climb the tower they took the stairs out of.
But that's still a very big thing. That's actually, you know, it's always kind of been an interest of mine, abandoned buildings and scary buildings, right? And that's become much more in vogue now. On YouTube, you can find all kinds of people exploring abandoned buildings and whatnot. Something creepy for your Halloween.
Being in the mommy club now,
Mommy
something that has been floating around that we keep getting on all these message boards is people posting like, oh my God, I saw this creepy thing on like the baby monitor. And there's all like the night vision of like their kids doing like creepy things. But then there's also people who are like, the monitor was just moving around on its own. And then inevitably someone comes on the board and is like, hey, if your baby monitor is Wi-Fi, make sure that no one hacked into your baby monitor and is watching your children. and they really shut down the board because everybody wanted to tell a creepy ghost story, and they bring in like some real terrible stuff.
Have you ever been in that situation in which like you're trying to like make a mood for like a creepy story and someone's just shitting all over it?
Someone's like, well, why not snots and shit?
Yeah, why not children?
What about pus?
I think that creepy kids are too played out, man. It seems like
it's all done.
Every 8-cent horror movie that comes out in theaters, the end of the trailer is always "Itsy bitsy spider."
Frankie, I don't watch horror. I'm not into the genre. Are there new ideas in horror?
I mean, we saw a few really good horror
There was a few
movies.
good ones last year.
There was Don't Breathe, which was about some burglars who were gonna rip off a blind man.
Yep.
And then he ends up waking up and knowing that they're in his house, and he's like an ex-Marine, and he cuts the power to the whole place and makes them blind too, and hunts them down one by one.
Then there was Green Room.
Green Room was about like a band that went to they had a gig at like what turned out to be a Nazi get together, and they witness a murder and they're trapped in the green room. And they're not allowed out, and like Patrick Stewart plays the head Nazi, and he comes over and tries to like deal with the situation as they all try to escape. So that's a really good one.
Sounds interesting. I would watch these, but they're fascinating to me.
Get Out was fantastic, which was by Jordan Peele of Key and Peele, about like a guy who, a black guy with his white girlfriend. He has to meet their very waspy parents for the first time, and everything's of course a little bit off.
Yeah.
And
Invasion of the Body Snatchers kind of ish.
yeah, it's fantastic. It is funny and it's horrifying, and it makes you sort of like tense up the whole time, and it's playing with suspense a lot.
Yeah.
There's that movie Frozen.
Frozen that's just horrible. Which is not the Disney one, to be clear.
Yeah.
It came out before that in 2010. It's about 3 people who are going on a ski trip.
Yep.
Like early 20s, and they
Stuck on the ski lift.
yeah. So they try to go for one more ride down the hill, and they see the last ski lift cart, and they jump on it, and they kind of bribe the guy to let them go on. Or no, they distract the guy and get on, and so they're unsupervised. They just want to go down the hill one more time.
Yeah.
And it's Sunday, and they're shutting down the place for the next 5 days until the next weekend.
Yep.
And so halfway up the ski lift, the power is shut down. Everybody leaves. They're completely alone up there. To jump down from the thing would either kill you,
Yeah.
or break your legs or something.
Yep.
Plus, they're in like the middle of Vermont or New Hampshire, and so
Jesus.
they're in the wild.
Yeah, there's like wolves running around.
Or you're going to freeze to death for the next 5 days, or of starvation up on the ski lift. So they try to climb down the cabling, and it's so frozen and sharp that it's like ripping anything they're trying to get down, and it's too far, and they're all going to die up there. And it's
Crazy movie.
Wow. I mean, it certainly sounds horrific.
so I think horror has a lot of great, there was It Follows, which I've told you about, which is
Yep.
about like the if you have sex with the guy who has the curse, you get followed by the curse. So it's I always thought they should have called it ST Demon. The thing I thought was greatest about It Follows is it required no special effects. Like it was, you just had to know that character had the curse, and that character might be seeing threats that no one else would see.
Yep.
So you just do it with people, basically.
Yeah.
There's no special effects, which I thought was the coolest. You want to hear a quick rundown of these haunted Rhode Island spots?
Sure, let's do it.
All right. We've got Fort Wetherill, Jamestown, Rhode Island.
Don't know it.
Said to be haunted by a phantom dog that has been seen since back in the Revolutionary War era. It is said that when the British took control of the 40 in 1776, they were terrorized by a black dog who prowled the entire fort. Scary.
Is that the same black dog Patrick Swayze had to deal with?
There's Seaview Terrace in Newport. It's one of the Newport mansions. It was the one that Dark Shadows was shot at.
Yep.
There's the Perrin House in Burrillville. It's very famous thanks to the movie The Conjuring.
Ooh.
So they shot The Conjuring there. There's Belcourt Castle, which Nina and I actually went on a haunted tour of Belcourt Castle.
Yep.
So it's like a Newport Mansion tour, except all scary Halloween themed.
Sure.
They have like haunted shit happening in the mirrors, and it was good stuff. Chestnut Hill Cemetery in Exeter, Rhode Island. Chestnut Hill Cemetery has gained a reputation as one of the most haunted places in Rhode Island, largely thanks to the tomb of an alleged vampire, Mercy Lena Brown. Mercy, her mother, and 2 of her siblings all died of consumption. This was during a period when there was a great deal of hysteria surrounding vampires in New England, and rumors persisted that one of the Browns was one of the undead, leading to the family's bodies being exhumed.
Ooh.
Mary and the others were decayed as would be expected, but Mercy's corpse was perfectly preserved, and her hair had even grown longer while buried. I didn't know there was a vampire.
So she's a saint. That's how that works, right?
Yeah. She's actually fine. There's no haunting here at all. It's just run-of-the-mill Christianity.
Everyday common Christianity.
There's the Breakers Mansion in Newport. It's a lot of Newport mansions.
All right.
It's said to be haunted by the ghost of Alice Vanderbilt. So it's haunted by great capitalists.
Yes.
Nathaniel Green Homestead in Coventry, Rhode Island.
Never
I've
heard of it.
Former residents of famed Revolutionary War General Nathaniel Greene, considered to be one of the most haunted places in Rhode Island, thanks to a range of spooky activity, including phantom footsteps, disembodied screams, and doors that open and close on their own.
I think I've driven by that. It's actually kind of a cool building. It's very 1700s.
It's very, it looks real historical. City Hall in Providence is considered to be...
Well, you can't fight City Hall.
Known to be one of the most haunted places. Staff have seen chairs moving by themselves.
I think they did a Ghost Hunters there
Yeah, I
at
think
Providence City Hall.
The paranormal activity is said to be caused by the ghost of the late Mayor Doyle, who is actually buried in the building. The Ladd School in Exeter, founded back in 1908, is a school for the feeble-minded. How rude. It's common for electronic items to be drained of power. I can't, my iPhone doesn't have
My
battery.
phone, the battery. The percentage just goes down and down.
How about Cumberland Public Library in Cumberland? Did you know that's haunted?
Sounds like a public place I could have gone to.
They say that inside there are books.
But they're
And
not
the Dewey
sure.
Decimal System.
The card catalog is still up to date.
And finally, the Biltmore Hotel in Providence, where we had our prom, is apparently, it's considered the #1 most haunted place
Really?
in all of...
I never heard of a single one of these.
Didn't we go to the Biltmore for one of the zebra
We did. It was very
things?
nice.
Yeah.
It was lovely.
Mostly it's because there were a bunch of high-profile murders during the Prohibition era.
Okay.
That's all there is really to say here.
These kind of
didn't sound
haunted
that
legend
great.
things.
Yeah,
They're all kind of just real dime a dozen, aren't they?
I think so. Because you're really just talking about old buildings
Yeah.
at a certain point.
Yeah.
So maybe Google haunted places in your area and you can swallow the bullshit.
Yes.
That's all the Halloween I got for you.
That's all you got.
There's if you're listening to this, let's see, they're listening to this on the Tuesday before the big special comes out.
That's right.
Meaning you got a big special coming this
You got to.
Sunday.
Do we want to tell them anything about it, or are we just gonna?
It's a Halloween special you can't miss.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Premieres Sunday, October 22nd.
We think you're gonna love it.
Only on Red Cow.
Only on Red Cow.
All right, happy Halloween and enjoy the content. Make sure to go to the YouTube Halloween playlist.
Yes.
It's got all of our present and historical haunted content.
Updated with the latest and greatest Halloween content.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
What in the hell are you boys supposed to be?
I'm a gnat. I'm a dumbass. Check it out. Can we just, have some candy? Yeah, really.